What's up, YouTube? Welcome to the Spooky Screen, a show with five best friends review films and TV shows. Today we have a special movie, Krampus, the 2015 holiday horror film.
Krampus.
Is it Krampus?
I
Krampus?
think the Germans and the Austrians pronounce it
Crumpets.
Krampus.
Krampus? Before we get right into it, we're going to force you to like this film, the video. We're going to make you subscribe, hit the bell,
Subscribe.
and put a comment at the end of this video telling us if you agree, disagree, or have other thoughts about Krampus. So I'm going to give a quick synopsis about what this movie is about, teach you a little bit about it, let you know what we're talking about before we get into it, and then we're going to go one by one and say whether we should or should not watch this. Who here has not watched this film? Please raise your hand. Okay, you're going to be our deciding factor, Stephen, aka Grinch. Is that a fair assessment? Am I
Yeah, absolutely.
mistaken in
I
calling you
do not
Grinch?
like. I do not enjoy holiday movies. I don't care.
Okay, so we have
No,
a tall lift today. If we're trying to convince him to watch it, if we all think we shouldn't watch it, it'll be an easy time. So with that said, what is Krampus? Krampus, while the holiday season represents the most magical time of year, ancient European folklore warns of Krampus, a horned beast who punishes naughty children at Christmas time. When dysfunctional family squabbling causes young Max to lose his festive spirit, it unleashes the wrath of the fearsome demon. As Krampus lays siege to the Engel home, mom, pop, sister, and brother must band together and save one another from a monstrous fate. Let's just take a quick poll of who thinks we should watch it and who thinks we shouldn't watch it. Nick, what did you see this movie?
I did, and
What
I
did-
think it is worth watching.
Okay, then we got to watch. David, what did you think?
Yeah, you should definitely add this to your holiday seasonal watch.
Oh man, he added a
Oh
definitely.
man, seasonal.
Definitely
Damn.
seasonally. Oh my!
Holy
what-
crap.
Even 2-year-olds and up? Like that? Okay. No.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I am the Krampus of the group. I am saying I do not recommend you watch it. I'm saying don't watch.
Oh. Okay. Weird. I saw it, and I actually agree, and I think you should watch this movie. I don't know if you need to watch it seasonally, but I was surprised. I thought this film struck the right balance of fun and a little bit of mischief, I'll call it. It had similar vibes to National Lampoon, actually, right? There's a premise. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but there is a premise of people coming over. It's a completely different setup, but it made the holidays feel a little stressful. Let's just put it like that. It wasn't all feel good. It was maybe a snapshot into people's lives who the holidays isn't all fun and games. Maybe you feel ostracized. Maybe you feel like you don't want this family to come over. You have drama or stresses in your life. And this year is just not feeling it. And it picked up on that. And the whole premise of the movie, and this is not a spoiler, but it is a premise, is that that spirit, that negative energy and spirit brings Krampus. And I thought it was clever. It's not a take on holiday movies you see. And it was right in line with a holiday story, though. So it felt very fresh because it was the structure of a holiday movie with a huge twist to it. So it felt very fresh. And then it plugged in really horror kind of major elements and themes. So it felt totally unique, but also completely friendly, like something you've seen before. So I thought it was just really well done. Had some actors who you'll know, who you'll like, so that you'll feel comfortable. And I think the other thing it did, well, I think I'll stop because there's probably I'm going to take too many things. So that's what I liked about it, and I'll leave a couple points for my colleagues here who are going to convince Noah and Steven that they should watch this movie. So Nick, why don't you pick up where I left off, and then we'll let David wrap us up.
I think I'm usually a big fan of not showing too much in terms of like if you have like a big villain or like a big bad, like a big monster bad. But I think it was very well done in how he was in how Krampus was depicted. The costume design alone, just for everything they had, was fantastic. Like the elves were my favorite part because the elves looked so creepy and cool at the same time. It wasn't something crazy demonic that would like you'd have to like shield your children's eyes from. I mean, it might be something that you could maybe like give like a bad like you could be like, oh, the elves will come for you to like to make sure, like how parents try to trick their kids into listening. A lot of the monster designs were very well done. The Jack in the Box was really cool, and how visceral and like creepy it made itself look,
And
like
it
when
was
you
a real prop.
yeah, and like it was these were all practical effects. None of it wasn't a lot of CGI. Like I'm not going to say there was none. It was obvious there was some, but a lot of this seemed to be practical effects, and it pulled it off incredibly well. They did a fantastic job, and it looks like they had a lot of fun with it.
Great.
I don't want to keep going because I
Yeah,
feel like I'll
I
just
know,
keep
I
going
know,
on and
I
on.
know.
So
And it's easy
David,
to
yeah, it's easy to keep
do
trailing
that.
on. So David, I'll let you wrap it up.
David, I think we probably hit some of the heavier points, but
Yeah,
I'd love to hear your thoughts.
I'll wrap up one big one that I was kind of stewing over. About 2 years ago, we reviewed Mike D's Halloween movie Trick or Treat, which we keep bringing up. And in that movie, he wrote and directed it, same as Krampus. And for Trick or Treat, Mike D was able to kind of distill this Halloween spirit and play with it, make it fun. He set up rules for the viewer, so we were along for the ride, and the visuals were great, effects were great, and the story wove itself really great. And somehow he did it again with Krampus. He took everything that was excellent in Trick or Treat and kind of like his tool bag as like a visual storyteller and a director and a writer, and applied it to Christmas. He distilled everything that you think of as a holiday movie, like the family issues, family coming together, losing the Christmas spirit, but kind of like the whimsical magic that is the Santa Claus fairy tale. But he twisted it and kind of added this dark horror comedy to it, which was just so fun.
I think the point is very clear that this is a holiday movie. Like, this is a holiday movie. It's just a negative twist on it. It's just saying the opposite of the icky, like we reviewed Fallen Christmas recently. It was, no, I think you said it well. What was the oversweet term you used?
Saccharine.
Saccharine. Oh, that word is beautiful. It's not saccharine. It's bitter, but it feels completely at home being a holiday movie, and that's great because there are none of those. I can't think of a single one.
All right.
Can we do a quick check in here? I'm pretty convinced that I should see this movie just based on your arguments. I think there's collective strength happening here.
All
I
right,
don't know, Noah might have like a jackhammer.
No,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
need to
wrecking
come in
ball.
with a chainsaw because these guys made really
Right.
good arguments. Like the creature, some evil gingerbread cookies,
All right.
gingerbread men, and like elves looking all evil and stuff like gremlins. Like I
Okay,
kind of feel
Steven.
sold, and I didn't know this was made by the same guy who did Trick or Treat. Right? Is that what we were saying?
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yes.
Spread
It's
the circle
perfect
out.
because my points line up almost perfectly with your points.
Fantastic. Where's the mute button?
And I will start by saying Trick or Treat is one of my favorite movies, and I think Mike D's is an expert visual storyteller and director, and there's a lot of beautiful shots in this, so I'm not going to touch that. I will go against your points though. I'm going to start with Nick.
Good luck.
Creature design, monster design. What does everyone come to Krampus to see? They come to see Krampus. In this movie, there's not enough of Krampus. He does nothing, Steven. He does nothing. He doesn't kill a single person. He doesn't capture a single person. The most you see Krampus do is open a bag of toys in it. That is all Krampus does in the entire movie. The rest of the movie is filled with nightmare toys and, as Johnny said, really bad CGI'd gingerbread men, in my opinion. So yes, the character design looks cool. Yes, the elves look cool. Yes, Krampus looks cool, but they don't do much. Johnny's point: holiday movie with a twist, a dark comedy. He put it right. Horror comedy is the word. The movie wants to be a horror comedy, but it doesn't have enough horror in it, and it doesn't have enough comedy in it. It's in this weird limbo that it doesn't really
I
know
landed
what.
on holiday movie.
Okay, but you mentioned horror comedy. So
That's fair.
yes, the movie's trying to be a horror holiday movie. It's trying to be it wants to be a Christmas movie up to a point, and then it wants to be a horror movie for the rest of it, and it doesn't execute that well. And the main reason is that it doesn't take itself too seriously when it's most needed. So most of the movie is very cartoonish and slapstick, and whenever characters die or monsters on the scene, there's even like it's almost played as a joke, and at the same time it's trying to be played as horror, and it doesn't work. There's even like sound effects, like a slide whistle, like a character is grabbed out of a window by the elves, and there's a slide whistle that's like because like that famous sound, and like when they're being attacked, it's like this weird boinging sound. So the movie is like this overly cartoonish um, execution, and it really robs it from it. But more importantly, I feel like all the characters are very inconsequential to each other. Like the relationships aren't properly set up. When characters are taken or killed, the characters don't really react in a believable way. Like the children disappear, and the parents don't like automatically go try and find them. They kind of just like are like, oh, okay, I guess that happened. I guess she's okay. Like there's no urgency. You don't feel the weight of anyone's death because the characters don't react to them. It doesn't even affect the characters. They don't care. Why should I care? So
No,
that's where the holiday with a twist doesn't work for me, because in a holiday movie, everyone's very like, I love you. They're very like sacrifice, It misses that. It misses the holiday spirit. It misses the Christmas spirit of giving, that over warmness. And the movie needed that to carry it forward, because the horror is not enough to make it feel negative, like Johnny said, because of that cartoonish. It's like an undercut to itself. Trick or treat. That was pretty much David's point if I had to summarize it. It's trick or treat Christmas. It is not. Trick or Treat has an R rating. There's a lot of gore in it. Trick or Treat has cartoony moments. It
as
has
Noah
slapstick
likes.
moments. Let me finish. But it has plenty of gore to kind of keep the audience engaged and feeling as if they are at risk, right? It's disarming. Like when you mix gore with that cartooniness, it's kind of an unsettling feeling. Whereas this movie, it doesn't have that R rating to help it cause that unsettling, because there's no blood at all in this movie. There's like the tiniest bit. There's a PG-13 rating, which I don't blame Mike D. I was reading up on it, and Universal would not greenlight this picture without it being a PG-13 rating. So I'm sure he didn't want it to be, but I'm still going to make it a point, as that is the major drawback, and the biggest difference between it and Trick or Treat. It doesn't have any blood. It doesn't have any deaths in the end. And so it just kind of feels cartoony instead of when it should feel unsettling. So
Yeah,
I've attacked all your 3 points,
I want to jump.
and I will allow you to rebuttal
I'm gonna
before
I'm gonna
Steven
start this
jumps
off.
in.
I'm gonna start this off because I think my major point, which will address all your points, is that you have a fundamental misunderstanding of the movie, which I don't. I think it's a valid position. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's invalid. I think, and if you've been a fan of the show for a while, you'll know Noah's history of his preferences and stuff. And Noah is the horror fan. I would say this show's horror focus generates from Noah's passion. So this movie is just not enough horror for Noah. And I think what I said, and I will stand by, is this is not a horror film. This is a holiday movie. And the whole movie is a mirror of Santa. So Santa in movies is kind of this whimsical, you'll see his toe in a chimney. The Krampus is not the focus. His toys and his gifts and his helpers are part of the focus. He has a small role. The characters are not what's the sweet word again?
Saccharine.
It's not saccharine. They're the opposite. That's why they're being punished, because they don't love and care each other. It's an exact mirror shadow of those movies, but it has the same tone and it's comedic. And I think that this movie is not trying to be Trick or Treat. It's not trying to be a horror. It is not trying to be a bloody fright fest. And I know that's what Noah always wants. If you hint at horror, Noah wants a filleted body, and it's just not going to give you it. And
Steven,
I think it's okay.
I'm gonna rebuttal Johnny's rebuttal really quickly. Johnny's
Then I'm
saying the
gonna rebuttal your rebuttal.
Johnny's saying the characters are not saccharines. You know what the worst thing that each of the characters do? Because Johnny's making it sound like it's like a negative thing. Like they deserve Krampus, right? The worst thing the dad does is that he takes a call during their Christmas dinner. The worst thing the mother does is that she doesn't make a traditional Christmas dinner. She makes a special dinner that has creme brulee and fancy gift things.
That's
The
off base.
That
worst
is
thing.
not it.
That's
The
not at
worst
all.
thing
That's an L. That's
that
an
the
L.
in-laws do is that they talk about guns.
No, you
And they have
just
a
took an L
Hummer.
position. No,
No.
I gave you a long leg room, but that was a total L position.
Okay, tell me the worst
dad and
things
mom
that they do.
Dad and mom was aloof. The kid is getting bullied, and no one steps in for him.
Oh, they tell him that Santa's
The
not
mom's
real.
whole focus is just superficial, and the in-laws are completely selfish and unaware.
It's not enough to deserve a Krampus. It's not negative enough. There's not enough motivation for him to give
No,
up
but
on
it's not
Christmas.
that it's not supposed to be that they deserve the Krampus. It's supposed to be because it's essentially that they broke the little kid Max. I'm calling him Max. I don't know if that was really his name, but they broke Max's Christmas spirit, and then because the grandmother tells them that she lost faith, and because he lost faith, Krampus is going to destroy his family and leave him as a reminder of what happens when you lose faith.
But
he's left at the scene of the
enough. It's not enough for him to lose faith. That is my point. It's not enough for him. It needed to be a bigger thing for him to tear up the card to Santa and send it flying away to summon Krampus.
Have you ever been bullied in front of a whole group?
That's a normal Sunday in an Italian household, is to be bullied. Especially when your in-laws over. You got to grow some sort of skin. It's not enough to summon an ancient demon to kill his whole family.
You didn't know.
I was 10 when I got bullied.
To build on Johnny and Nick's rebuttal to your rebuttal, Noah, I really do think Mike D filmed and wrote this movie and took heavy inspiration from like Grimm's fairy tales. Like this is a cautionary tale. So I think some of the characters are maybe allowed to be a little bit more stereotypical, where like, ooh, this is the example that you're not supposed to be. This is the example you're not supposed to be. And Max, the main character that we see, he's the linchpin. He's the one in the folktale that loses the heart, loses the faith. And this is the reaction to all of that. Just like what the grandmother was saying in her little animated story that we got. Like it was a season of hardship. And hardship is not, just because you have a hardship doesn't mean you deserve a demon. But in folk tales and like fables, there's supposed to be a lesson about it. And it's kind of the character that goes off the path or loses heart or loses faith. And I think that was depicted well enough for the characters. If you take this movie as more of a like a fable and a folklore.
I hate that argument. I hate the argument
what
that
do you
it's
mean?
a holiday movie, that it's a fable. You guys hide under that and you make excuses for it for that reason. You say it's allowed to be this. It's allowed to be that. It's allowed
to be that because that's how it was written.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, a Bible story is allowed to be a Bible story because that's what it's written. It's a parable.
But it doesn't make it effective just because that's what it's saying it is. It's saying,
So
I'm a holiday movie, but if you don't execute it well, if it's not effective, especially to the audience,
just listen now, though. It's really hard because you have a desire for what you want this movie to be.
That's not true.
I think you do. I think you're being very clear that you want it to. You've said it. You want it to be more risky. You want there to be more death. You want there to be more. That's not what this movie was trying to be.
I wanted it to choose. It to me, I would rather it be the holiday movie.
You would want it to be more saccharine.
I'd rather it be more comedy. If that's what it wants to be.
I'd rather it
be more horror if it wants to be, but it's trying to be this weird thing in the middle and it doesn't work.
It chose comedy. I disagree with you. It chose comedy and it didn't need to be horror. You just want it to be because you're very biased and you don't see it.
You're putting that on me
maybe, but it's hard not to see right now.
It's not true.
Because we all saw the movie and we agreed. The three of us do agree that it struck the balance well. You're the only one who thinks it didn't go far enough with the horror, and we're saying
far enough with the comedy.
It couldn't have gone much farther with the comedy.
And I mean, I mean, Noah, to your point, you
It's
love
not Mr. Bean.
To your point, you love Trick or Treat, right?
Steven, do you hear that all their arguments
Whoa, 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 whoa.
is pointing to my bias, which I'm trying not to be biased.
No. I'm just saying.
I'm actually making points to the movie, and they are just arguing that it was my perspective, it was my feelings. My feelings are valid, Steven.
No, because I feel like you're not
I'm
making
just
us on our
saying.
points, Noah. You're just saying what you
You're not
think the movie
arguing
should be.
against my points. You're just saying that my perspective is wrong.
That's exactly what we're saying. We're saying that your perspective on what the movie should be is wrong, and you want us to believe that it should have had more horror, and we fundamentally will not concede on that. All right, I think it's time for Steven to win.
Yeah, let's Steven have.
So it seems like at the end of the day, what it comes down to is a tone and consistency issue with Noah, and I think it's not enough of an argument for me to stay away from this movie ultimately, because I think that while I trust Noah's judgment, I'm more of the type of person where if there's promising little tidbits, that can catch my attention throughout the movie, I'm more than willing to give it a shot than to turn my back on it. And that's just the person that I am. It's not reflective of like the sort of argument that Noah put up in this discussion. And I think honestly, he had an uphill battle versus you guys. So I'm taking the shine out of your victory over his loss. So
this would be one of the really interesting ones to have a follow up after you watch it, Steven, and see if you agree with him or not, because you might.
I probably
I don't
will.
know.
I probably will.
But it's hard to stay away because it's a fun movie. So
it is, yeah. I think that's what it's getting to me, right? It's like you guys seem to have had fun with it, and Noah was frustrated by the inconsistencies. So it's like, what ultimately wins out for me at the end of the day, right? Am I going to have more fun than be bothered by the inconsistencies, or are the inconsistencies like noticeable enough that like it just kind of puts a sour taste in my mouth about the film? So that's what it really comes down to.
For you, Steven, specifically, and this is less about our debate and more just about you. You don't like holiday films, so
I
this
don't.
actually might be something fun for you. That's
Exactly.
different. So
that's exactly what it is. This is like maybe different enough, right? I am so sick and tired of the Lindsay Lohan rom-com holiday movies.
Well, Noah said Lindsay Lohan is not rom-com. Has no rom, no com.
Well, I mean, yeah, but it's not even like it's not even trying to be different, right? It's just saying, hey, this is a rom-com holiday movie, but there's no rom, there's no com in it. So
yeah. So let's take a final vote. Who would say to watch this? We got 3 full votes and a half vote.
No, well, I don't know.
I always do my arbitrary mathematics. 3.5 versus 1.
So 3, and we've convinced.
I would say Steven's convinced, so that's 4.
All right, so that's 4.
You did not convince me.
We did, but you wouldn't concede.
No, so. I am more not convinced than before.
And with that, we're out. Spooky Screen, we'll catch you next time. Peace.